Guys, happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, not Thursday. Do not adjust your set. We are here on Tuesday, still celebrating these wonderful 12 days of Beadsmas with Jesse James Beads, and today's a fun one. I mean, they're always a fun one, right? We always have a really, really good time. We always do something fun, but this is one of my favorite things in jewelry making, and I hope you guys feel the same way about this, because I started out way back when with hemp and knotting, but when I moved on, like, the next step for me was what we're celebrating today, memory wire, because memory wire is so easy to use and so fun, and there are so many different things that you can do with it. So that's what today is all about. We're talking about memory wire, and there are some memory wire starter kits over on jessejamesbeads.com that are amazing, right? Okay, so here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the necklace memory wire, you're going to get the bracelet, and you're going to get the ring size all in one package. And actually, it looks like two different bracelet sizes. I might be wrong about that, but it looks like two different. So this is a Beadalon product, and memory wire is tempered steel. And so what that means is this is not a dead soft. This is not a half hard. This is a wire that is going to retain its shape no matter what you do to it. So you can fill it up with beads, and then it's going to keep that nice round shape, which is awesome. And one of my favorite things about memory wire, and why it was the next step in my jewelry making journey back when I was much younger, is because you don't have to have any findings to use memory wire, which I think is phenomenal. You turn the ends to loops, and that's all you have to do. That's really, I mean, and lucky for you guys. So the two things that you need to work with memory wire are also available over on jessejamesbeads.com. So the finishing pliers, these guys right here, and I'm going to show you how to use them. So they have, it's just two really small mandrels, round, they're not tapered, to you know, create your loops at the end. So you've got two choices for your loop sizes, and your memory wire shears. Why are these important? These are super, super important, because if you use these on memory wire, you're going to destroy them. And I can promise you that, because I have, in a pinch, used my cutter tool. Oh, such a bad decision. I've never made that mistake again. So I always have my memory wire cutters, because these are specifically designed to cut through memory wire. And just in case you've got some extra heavy duty wire on hand that needs cutting, and you worry that maybe your cutter tool that you've got that you love and covet and don't want anything to happen to it, if you don't trust that on some heavy duty wire, you can also use your memory wire cutter shears for that as well, which is super, super cool. So it's a great tool to have around, not just for your memory wire, but like I said, for your other wires. And the finishing pliers, this is going to give you the opportunity to make loops. Who doesn't like to make loops, right? So you can make loops not just on your memory wire, but on your other wires as well. And one of those is teeny beanie, like this guy right here. I believe this is a 2 millimeter. I wouldn't swear to it, but I'm pretty sure that's a 2 millimeter. And so it makes a really small, nice loop, and your loops are consistent every single time, which is awesome. Kelly, hi, Miss Kelly. Kelly says it reminds her of a parrot beak. It does me too. Absolutely does. So I just want to say hi to everybody. There's Mimi and Tracy. Good to see you guys. Robin, Jeanette, and Linda, and of course Sarah, Miss Sarah. Yes, are we live? We are live. Can you believe it? We're live on a Tuesday. There's Stacia. Hey, girly girl. So, all about memory wire. Well, memory wire is easy to work with, right? I mean, we already said that, and we already know that, but memory wire has one of the coolest structures to it that you can use for other things. You can make earrings. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but back in the summer, we made a pair of earrings using the Destination Hawaii mix, and they were hoop earrings, and then we macrameed on the outside of them, and then we attached beads to those. So that was the memory wire. It was, I believe it was might have been smaller than this one. But so you've got a perfect loop already, right? So you can make perfect hoop earrings with your memory wire. That's one of my favorite things about them. And they are super, super thin, so you can thread on some of your gemstone beads or your pearls that have a really small hole, as well as any of your Jesse James beads. Of course, they all fit fabulously on here. And there's a lot of different ways you can use this in your jewelry other than making hoops or just making a regular bracelet. So with this one, I made a 3-strand bracelet using that gingerbread hollow mix, and of course I added some little tassels to it, and this is just really kind of the standard way. You can see I made with the little loop on the end. This is really the standard way to use your memory wire to make stacked bracelets that are all one piece, but you can also take your memory wire and make cuffs out of them. So we're going to make kind of a cuff today. It's going to be a 2-strand, if you will, memory wire bracelet. It's gonna act and function as a cuff. You could do this in a lot of different ways. I'm just gonna show you a really quick and simple way that I do it. But as we're going along, we're gonna talk about the different ways that you can use memory wire. Had I had a brain that was working better yesterday, I have like holiday stress, like I was trying to avoid it, but now I'm like really starting to feel it in my tummy, like I'm stressed out. So my brain is yeah, it's elsewhere. I was going to show you guys a totally different bracelet. We'll talk about it, okay? I'm not going to show it to you, but we'll talk about it because it's one of the ways that you can use memory wire that I think sometimes gets forgotten, and I really, really enjoy that. Also, in the pack that has all of the different sizes, you get the ring memory wire. Look how tiny and cute this is. So this is awesome if you want to create some last-minute gifts. You could certainly go with rings, but you can cut these in individual links and use these as wine glass charms so that nobody gets their wine glasses mixed up for your holiday gatherings, which is also cool. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Jane. Hi, Karen. Kathy. I knew what you meant, Kathy. Unless that was an exclamation. Needed a big exclamation mark at the end. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about the tools. Let's talk about all the good stuff. Don't forget, when we're done here, to go over to Jesse James Beads and check out the bundles. There's one that's in silver. There's one that's in the gold color. There are the tools. You can buy things in different configurations if you want the whole kit or if you just want the tools and you've already got. So yeah, I'll let you guys figure that part out, but let's get to making, shall we? All right, so just a tiny bit. All right, so first let's talk about the standard way to use your memory wire, which is just like so, where you make a bracelet that is several stacks, right? And you just make the loops on the end, so you don't need any hardware for this, which is really, really handy. This is a great next step in your jewelry making journey. If you are just starting out, memory wire is a good next step because it teaches you how to create loops. It also helps you learn how to string and lay out your beads. And there is actually a trick to laying out your beads so that if you wanted each strand to be different, so you wanted this strand to be green, this one to be red, this one to be white, you can tell I have Christmas on the brain. There's a trick to all of that, and it really just comes with playing with the memory wire and figuring out, because it's not, it doesn't lay out exactly like you think it would. That just comes with playing with it a bit and also trying it on, because it's also going to adjust when you put it on your wrist as well. So those are things you have to take into consideration when you're working with your memory wire and you're wanting a certain design. It's not necessarily a skill that I can teach you. It's just one of those things that you kind of learn as you go. So that's what makes memory wire a great next step. This is a good one for if you've got younger people in your life that are interested in making jewelry. This is a really, really good way to get them interested because of those reasons that I just said. You know, this is a great way to start playing with color and how to create some really cool pieces of jewelry. So this is just a standard way, but then you can also cut them short and just create regular cuff bracelets that are single strands. The trick to creating cuff bracelets, and you'll notice rather at the end of mine, is that it is over, it's not just one loop, right? I've gone over just a little bit on both sides. That gives the bracelet the opportunity to open up if you've got someone with a larger wrist, but it's also going to stay nice and closed on someone who has a smaller wrist. So if you're going to make cuffs, you want to overcut, right? You want to be sure that you're not just cutting a straight circle. You want to be sure that you go over about 1.5 inches on either side. Okay, so you can make just singular cuffs, also using that structure that is there for earrings and everything else that you want to create. So the bracelet that I was going to make that I didn't make, you're just going to have to envision for just a second, and then we will move on to the bracelet that we are going to make. So the bracelet, probably be easier to show you on this one. I was going to make a cuff that was in 2 sections, right? So cut just like this, but in 2 sections, but spaced out. So threading your beads on, and then with an eye pin or a head pin, well, it would have to be an eye pin, thread beads on a head pin, thread 1 loop on this side and 1 loop on this side, and then you've got a cuff that has beads running through the middle that are going this direction while the actual structure of the bracelet is running this direction. That's what we were gonna do, but like I said, my brain just was not where it needed to be yesterday. So we're going to do a slight variation on that, but just keep that in mind. Like, memory wire doesn't have to be just straight stringing. This stuff is great for a number of things, okay? So many different things. So the bracelet we're going to make today, we are going to create with 2 pieces, because it is going to be sort of a 2-strand cuff, if you will. And you'll notice that I cut over on both. So when you're cutting your memory wire to create a cuff, I've given myself about 2 inches actually on either side of this one. Okay, so the 2 sides, or the 2 inches rather, are overlapping, right? So when you put it on, it can stretch out, okay? So I've cut two pieces that are exactly the same size. And I wanted to show you before we moved on, with your finishing pliers, these are the 2 sizes of the loops that you can create. So the smaller loop obviously is using the smaller mandrel, and this loop size is perfect for not just memory wire, but all of your loops, right? And with memory wire, you can turn it this direction so that the loop is coming outwards, or you can turn it in so that the loop is going inwards. Either one is acceptable. There is no right or wrong with these. Also, this is the size for the larger loop. So you're getting, that looks to be about a 4mm loop there. So I'm guessing this is a 2 and this is a 4 when it comes to the loop size that it creates. Wouldn't swear to it, but that's got to be pretty close. Okay, so just giving you an idea of the 2 loops that are possible here. Okay, and something else, since we are talking about the tools before we move on, let's talk about the cutter tool. So Kelly was right. It absolutely looks like a bird beak, and it is probably just as strong as some small birds' beaks for sure. This is going to cut through this tempered steel. If you use your regular cutter tools on this, you're going to create these places on the back. This one's not too bad, but I've got another one. Let me grab it, because I just want to show you what it does to your cutter tools. It's really sad. So let me see. Do you see those big notches where the blade has big chunks missing? There's one here at the tip, and there's one back here, and then there's some smaller ones here. That's from cutting steel that I had absolutely no business using my cutter tool for, and it ruins them. Now they will never cut flush again. They have this nasty jaggedy cut, so don't do it. That's all I can say. Just don't do it. I keep this pair around. This is just my junk pair. When I'm not, when I'm cutting things that are not necessarily wire. Don't use your good cutter tools on your memory wire. Get yourself a pair of these. You have to have these, or you are going to regret it, I promise you. So just to show you how easy these are, you just place your memory wire in there, and it doesn't take a lot of force. They do all the work for you. You just snip them, and you're going to get two really good ends here, and they're almost flush. They're just a little off from being flush, so you could hit these with some sandpaper or a metal file if you needed that to be super, super flush. But for what we're doing, it makes, for all intents and purposes, that's a good flush cut. All right, so for today's bracelet, like I said, we are going to create a 2-strand cuff bracelet, and we're going to add a really easy component to this using some 20-gauge wire. So let's create the component first. Let me just show it to you. So you're going to need 4 of these, and the reason that we're making these is because I wanted to show you what else is possible, just some of the other things that are possible with your memory wire. So our 2 strands are actually going to run through these on the top and on the bottom to hold the strands together, right? It's a really easy thing to make. We're going to do it with our small bail making pliers. And we'll do that first, and then we'll talk about what else you can do with this exact same thing. So we're going to use the smaller mandrel of the small bail making pliers for this, and I'm just going to grab that wire right at the tip. I'm using 20-gauge wire for this. We are going to work harden it just a tiny bit. We're just going to make a little figure 8 shape. So first you need to turn the first loop, okay? Then you need to come down just so that your loop is right there up against the pliers, right? And go the opposite direction to create the shape that we're looking for. Now I'm going to cut this with my flush cutter. And remember, with the flush cutter, the wire that you want to keep is on the flat side of your tool, okay? And that's important here because we want this to be nice and closed. Okay. Where did it go? All right, so you're going to need 4 of these for today's bracelet. We're going to pop this guy over here on the block and just work harden it just a tiny, tiny bit. So this is a really easy way to create your own spacers and a connection between more than one strand. So our strands will be connected with these tiny little guys, but if you wanted to create something that was more than 2 strands, you could do the same thing just by continuing on. Okay, so we make the loop here, we make, whoops, the loop here. If we were to continue on, sort of like the bubbles that we make with the larger wire, hold on, if I could get a hold of it. So going around and around to create 3 loops, now we've got a 3-strand. And when you thread it on, it's just gonna, this is the part you're gonna see, right? So you're creating a little spacer that you can use in multi-strand designs. And of course I could keep going. If I wanted to make a 6-strand design, I could make 6 of these and thread them all on that way. And you're gonna have that nice color of the wire coming through. So you've got the decoration for the spacer itself, but it also helps to connect the 3 strands. So, or 2 strands or whatever, however many strands you've got. So in some places where you need those strands to have structure, like when you're very first starting out, you're stringing, right? But then you need them to open up. You would use these towards the top of your design near where your other components, your clasp and things are, but then not have them in the longer structure. I hope that you can follow that. I know that it's really kind of hard to visualize that as I am talking and not showing it to you, but I just thought it was a cute little trick. It's really easy to do, and you can work these up instead of having to go and try to find spacers. You can just make your own with your bail making pliers. You can even do it with your memory wire finishing pliers because you have the opportunity to make some small little loops. So just keep that little trick in mind. So for our bracelet, like I said, we're going to need 4 of those. And this is just going to be an added little bit of support. This is going to keep our 2 strands together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to completely thread up. We're going to string on 1 entire strand. But the first thing I need to do is I need to do a loop at the end so that the beads don't slide off. I'm going to use the smaller bail on the memory wire finishing pliers to do this, and you can turn either direction. You can turn out or you can turn down. I'm going to turn out on this one. So I'm just grabbing the wire right at the tip and I'm just rolling back to create our loop. Now that loop is going to serve as a stopper to keep our beads from sliding off the end. You want to be sure that it's nice and flush. There's not any spaces there, okay? Particularly if you're using seed beads. We are going to use a little bit of seed beads for this. So if you're using seed beads, you want to be sure that that loop is nice and closed, because if it's open even just a little bit, those seed beads will slide right on into that loop. And if you don't notice it until after you've made the loop on the other end, you're kind of stuck with it. So always make sure your loop is closed. Okay, so for today, we're going to be using some beads from the 'Tis the Season design elements, and I've picked out some of my favorite beads from this. We're keeping it very, very Christmassy here with the red and the green. I do have this beautiful kind of bronze color, and I've got some bronze seed beads for this as well. And I'm going to use seed beads just as the length portion, okay? So what I'm going to start out with is 2 seed beads, okay? And then I'm going to thread on this red rondelle. It's kind of frosty. And then I'm going to thread on one of our little figure 8s. Okay, and those are going to go all the way down here to the end, right? So the next thing I'm going to thread on is one of these galaxy beads in this beautiful red. That's just going to sandwich our little figure 8. And you can see the other loop is down here free. We will thread through it when we get to the second strand. So Barbara says you can use round nose pliers for the loop too. You absolutely can. The only reason I don't like to use round nose pliers for this, number one, is because they're tapered, so my loops are never consistent. I like to have a consistent loop on both ends just so that it looks nice. But the other reason is because I don't really have that strength. This, even though it's small, this is a substantial tool. Like, it's made to grab a hold of that tempered steel and roll it back. So I feel like I don't have to work as hard as I do with these. With these, I'm used to using softer wire, so the strength that it takes is just too much for me. I mean, it's not impossible, but I really prefer the finishing pliers over just my standard round nose pliers. But it's totally up to you, of course. All right, so we're going to thread on 24 seed beads. There's 5. And there's 10. This part is really just going to take the longest. Everything else will work up very quickly. Whoops. Well, if I could hold on to him. All right, there's 15. There's 20, and we're going to add 4 more. Kathy says, yeah, that memory wire is no joke. That's for sure. It is no joke. It is serious wire. All right, so there's 24 seeds. This is just going to help us to put our focal beads, our really pretty Jesse James beads, here in the middle, okay? So we are going to thread on one of these beautiful flocked green beads. I love these. I think they're so, so pretty. Okay. And then we're going to thread on another one of our little figure eights. This will just be another section that is just going to keep our two strands together. I'm going to thread on one of these really cool red faceted beads. I love this red. This is just the perfect Christmas red, in my opinion. It's so deep and royal, if that could be. I guess royal is more of a blue thing, but to me. All right, another one of the green flocked beads, and we're going to do bead caps, one of our bronze beads, another bead cap. Okay, and then we're just going to finish off the other side the exact same way. So we're just going to repeat that. We're doing the flocked bead, this beautiful red bead, one of our figure eight components, and the flocked bead. All right, so these match. And that beautiful bronze bead, that one's going to be right in the center. Okay, now we need to thread on another 24 of our seeds. Okay, there's 5. Good morning, Eve. All right, there's 10. There's 15. Every time I pick up a seed bead, I'm picking up fuzz from this bead mat. All right, there's 20. Let's add 4 more. All right, so there are our 24 seed beads. And we're just going to do the same thing that we did over here on this end. So we're going to thread on one of these beautiful galaxy beads, another one of our little figure eights, our cranberry colored bead, and then 2 more seeds. And then we are going to turn a loop here at the bottom on the end. Okay, now one thing to take into consideration is how much wire you're going to need to create your loop at the end. This is more than I need. I really only need about a little over 1/4 of an inch. But we do want there to be a little bit of wiggle room for your bracelet, just like regular stringing. You don't want everything to be so tight that it can't move. For one thing, these guys right here, we need them to be able to have a little bit of movement. See how they're moving just a tiny, tiny bit, okay? So I am going to come in and trim off just a tiny bit of this, but I need to leave plenty behind. So, whoops, get this guy out of the way. All right, that looks like just about as much as I need, and that might be a little too much, but I'm going to leave it. I don't want to cut too much. If you cut too much, then you can't put it back, right? So, all right, same thing. I'm going to come down here with my finishing pliers, grabbing that wire, and I'm just going to roll it back. And I can see that that was too much, but just barely, and so I'm going to leave it. You can see that if I move everything down, see that tiny, tiny bit of space? I could have clipped just a teeny, beany bit more off, but I'm not going to, because you're not even going to notice it when the bracelet is finished. So there is one cuff ready to go. You can wear it all by itself if you wanted to without the little figure eights sticking off. However, you can use your little figure eights as a place to add charms as well. So your little figure eights have multiple uses. We're going to go ahead and thread the second bracelet that goes with this. And it is just a tiny, tiny bit different, not much, but just a little bit. But the first thing we need to do is create our loop at the end. So same thing, coming in with the pliers, the finishing pliers, and I'm just rolling back. Want to make sure that that loop is definitely closed and not overlapping, okay? All right, so on the end, we're going to thread on 2 seeds. And then we are going to thread on one of these kind of matte bronze beads that I really, really like. And now we're gonna thread on, let's see. This is the part that always gets me. All right, we need to thread on, okay. Let me think. I'm going all the way down here to this end. So we need to thread that one. Just takes a second to figure out where the placement of everything is. Okay, so before I thread on the next bead, I'm going to thread on that bottom loop of our figure 8. Oh, but I did it the wrong way. Oh my goodness, I went the wrong direction, sorry. All right, now, there we go. Okay, so now you can see the strands are gonna be right side by side. Okay, they're connected, so they're not gonna come apart. We're gonna thread on our galaxy bead. Okay, drop that down. And now we're gonna thread on our seed beads. And the only thing about this is just kind of working with it so that that other strand is just out of your way. Really, it's not hard, it's just you just want to keep it out of the way so things don't get twisted around. There's 2, 3, 4, 5. Exactly, instead of brain teasers, just make jewelry. You are so right. All right, there's 5. There's 10. If I could stop picking up fuzz, that would be awesome. I'm gonna need a new bead mat, I think. All right. All right, there's 15. There's 20, and we need 4 more. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're just going to look at it for starters, just to see, make sure that I do have enough of the seed beads. So I'm just going to hold it up and look at it, and you can tell, making sure you didn't thread on more than you needed to, okay? Everything's good. So now we're going to thread on one of these really cute metallic beads. There are so many motorcycles in this neighborhood. Okay, and now we need to thread through that bottom loop on our figure 8, okay? So again, you can see this is where those 2 strands, just another section where the 2 strands will be connected, so they're not going to separate up here at the front either. And we'll thread on one of these, one of our flocked beads, our bead cap, our bronze, our bead cap, and then we're just going to repeat that pattern. So the green, this beautiful red, okay, and now we need to thread through the next figure 8, that loop on the bottom of it, okay, and our metallic bead. So the two middle sections are very much alike. The only difference is that on one of them there's a metallic bead on either end instead of a green flocked bead. Okay, that's just really the only difference there. Okay, now we need 24 more seeds, and at this point it's going to be a little trickier to hold that other strand out of the way, but we'll do the best that we can. And we're also going to cross our fingers that I have enough seed beads out here. And I didn't lose any on the way. 3, 4. All right, there's 5. There's 10. Okay, we've got 15. I agree. Kelly says this is so classic holiday like Norman Rockwell. I would definitely agree with that. All right, there's 20. So we need 4 more. Look at that, I had the perfect amount of seed beads. I really did not expect that to happen. You guys know how I am. You just never know what you're gonna get. Okay, so there are our 24 seeds. We're gonna thread on our little galaxy bead. We're gonna thread through that very last loop on that figure 8. Our metallic bead here. Kind of a matte metallic, I guess. That's sort of, I don't think that's what you call that. It's a matte bead. It's not really metallic if it's matte. Okay, anyway. All right, so there are my 2 seeds to finish off. And I do have enough room here. This one might have been a little shorter than the other one, so I don't have to trim anything off here to create our loop at the end. But I do have to contend with all of this that's going on, so just be kind of mindful of all of that. So I'm going to roll my loop, trying to keep all the other pieces out of the way, and there is our finished bracelet. And I'm not quite finished. I am going to add one more thing to this, but you can see, so it's a double-stranded bracelet, but it's connected here on either end to keep the strands together, and it's also connected here at the top so that they're not going to separate up here, which makes it really cool for stacking with other things, because these two are always going to be stacked together. They're not going to open up and allow another strand to come in between here of any kind, which I really, really like. So there's that, but we have these loops on the end, and a lot of times I like to add just a little bit, something extra to the loops. So that's what we're going to do. I have already went ahead and taken the little Christmas tree charms that are so beautiful that are in that 'Tis the Season mix, and these little, I don't know, they remind me of Christmas ornaments, these little metallic fabric beads, and I put them on 2 staggered pieces of chain and a 6mm jump ring, and I've got 2 of these. I'm going to hang them on to the loops here just so that I have some extra movement to the bracelet. You can skip this part if you want to, but the ends of your memory wire, because you have these loops, this is a great place to add your little personalized touches. If you've got charms or tassels or whatever you've got that you want to just really make it special, just an added little something. A lot of times if you've got your own little stamp that has your business emblem or your logo or whatever on them, this is a good place to put that. Or if you're giving your memory wire bracelet as a gift to someone, then pick out a charm that speaks to who they are, and it really makes it more personalized. And speaking of charms, you guys know over on Jesse James Beads there is a huge charm section. So if you've not ever checked out the charms over there, I highly recommend doing that, because there's some really cute ones over there and some really beautiful ones. Not everything's cute, you know what I mean. There's some really great charms. So while you are picking up your memory wire, go check out the charms. right? So that just adds an extra little something to the back of the bracelet. I like to have movement, extra things hanging down, just some fun elements to the jewelry, the two little Christmas trees, these little Christmas ornament looking beads. And so now when I put it on, now I have fun on both sides, right? We've got this dangle here on the back and the beautiful bracelet on the front. So there you go. So that's it for today. That was an easy one, but really, really fun. Let me flip you guys back around. Hi. So one thing that I forgot that I was going to show you guys, but I can show it to you this direction, excuse me, is a trick that you can do with memory wire that I think some people forget about. Hold on. You make sure that you're not going anywhere. So on the memory wire, excuse me, on the ring memory wire, so I put together this cutie little ring. I just use one bead and one little charm on that because I love rings that have charms on them too. I think that is super, super fun. But look at the bead on that. Okay, so it's just one single bead. Do you see what's on either side? That's a crimp bead. So memory wire, you can use crimp beads, crimp tubes, crimp beads on your memory wire. So if you're making a bracelet and you want that wire to show in between, you know, the tin cup style necklace where it's knotted, but there's like a bead and then there's a space and then there's a bead and then there's a space. So you can do the exact same thing with your memory wire by putting on a bead and then putting on a crimp bead and crimping the crimp bead onto the memory wire, and it will hold that bead in place. So you can have spaced out beads on your memory wire. Just a cute little trick to what size crimps. I use number ones on the ring, just little number one in gold. And I just squished them. I didn't actually crimp them like you would with your crimper tool. I just flattened them, which you're never ever supposed to do on bead stringing wire, but on hard wire, totally okay. You get the thumbs up to do it that way on your hard tempered steel memory wire. Just don't do it on your bead stringing wire. That's a no-no. But yeah, so lots of fun with the memory wire, you guys. I love it. I think it's a lot of fun to work with. And over on Jessie James Beads, you've got the whole little bundle that you can get, which I think is perfect. If you are looking for some last minute stocking stuffers for a beader in your life, get them the memory wire starter kit. If you've got a young person that wants to do jewelry, get them the memory wire starter kit. Otherwise, you can get the assorted sizes in gold, you can get the assorted sizes in silver, you can buy the tools individually, or you can buy it all together in one big thing. And it's a great way to get started with wire if you're a little intimidated by it, because it's going to help you practice your loops and let you play around with color, which is why we all love jewelry making anyway, right? You can lay out your colors and figure out how to make the strands and the whole bit. So with the ring, somebody asked, how did I make the ring? I used some of the ring size memory wire and I snipped it so that it was just 3. I turned a loop, but instead of turning the loop frontwards or backwards, I turned it to the side so that it would lay flat on my finger. Trying to find a good way to show this to you guys so you can see where those loops are. The glare is kind of making that difficult, but then I thread on one bead, brought it to the middle, okay? Hadn't made that last loop yet. So loop, thread on the beads with the 2 crimp beads on either side, smash down the crimp beads, make them nice and flat so this guy's not gonna go anywhere. He's gonna stay right there in the middle. And then down here on the other side, I just turned a loop. And again, the loop is on the side so that it lays flat on my finger, and just popped a little charm on there. One of those little Christmas trees. I love the Christmas trees. Aren't they cute? Suzanne says she likes my earrings. Thank you, thank you. These beautiful peppermint beads are from Jessie James Beads. So you guys, head on over to Jessie James Beads, grab your Winter Wonderland beads. Any of the beads from that collection are gonna look beautiful on your memory wire. The 'Tis the Season, the Gingerbread Hollow, any of those, they're going to be absolutely beautiful. And the colors that are there, you can carry them all the way into the winter. It doesn't just have to be about Christmas or Hanukkah or the holidays. These are beautiful, bold, warm colors that you can carry straight on through until we get on up to Valentine's Day. So yeah, which actually will be right around the corner as soon as Christmas comes. They will fit any size then. They will fit just about any, yeah. The memory wire, if you're talking about the size of the memory wire itself, yes, it's going to fit a wide variety. It's very small. I would say that it is close to about a 23 gauge. I wouldn't swear to that, so don't quote me on that, but it's a very small wire, but it's that tempered steel, so you don't have to worry about it being flimsy or anything like that. Like, it's going to hold up and take care of all your Jesse James beads that you put on it. So, all right, thank you guys so much for joining me on a Tuesday. It is always a pleasure to get together with you guys. You can catch me again on Thursday here on Jesse James Beads at 11 a.m. and then you can catch me on Silver, Silk, and More at 6:30 p.m. Following that on Friday on Sara Ellis Designs at 1 p.m. Tons of me to go around. Another week of fun stuff. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you guys in a couple of days. Bye, guys.